Hi everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamlined Legal, where we help attorneys and law firms create efficiency and work smarter. Today I'm talking about calendars. I've had the great opportunity to see a number, hundreds of law firms' calendars. And I'm seeing a lot of calendars that are scary, not just for me, but for the attorneys and the staff as well. There is a point at which a calendar can become so full of things that it just becomes unusable. I mean, you have to basically look at each day and go through the list and figure out what you're supposed to be responsible for or need to be aware of or not. And there's just no way that one person can be in 6 places at once. And it's a huge time suck to be able to have to go and look at all these different appointments and figure out if you need to be responsible for them or not. And so that's what I want to talk about today. So the great news is there's some fantastic calendar technology out there today that allows us to usually see more than one calendar at once, kind of superimposed on top of each other. And so whether you're using a Google Calendar or your practice management software calendar, a Clio, a Practice Panther, whatever you're using, split these things up into multiple calendars. It will really, really change the way that you're able to look at a calendar and be able to look quickly, get the information you need, and then move on. So for example, here's some examples of the way you may want to break out your calendar. Now, there's no right or wrong answer. It's really what works best for your team. So the first one is create a deadline calendar. So use all day appointments, not appointments at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. Use an appointment that lasts all day, and so that it shows up at the top of the calendar, not so that it takes up the whole day, but so that it shows up as a little symbol at the top. And really, that's a great way to be able to keep track of all those deadlines, but not having it clog up the hourly time during your day. The second way is have each individual have their own calendar. Now, there may be some situations with support staff maybe that that's not necessary, or they may not have much on their calendar, but allow them to have that tool to maybe schedule their own day or time block their own day. And then for those that are taking outside appointments like attorneys or salespeople, then they can go ahead and have those appointments on their individual calendar and not have to scroll through a number of appointments during the day to figure out which ones they're in charge of. You can also split it up by practice area. Maybe you're doing some criminal and some civil work. You could have a criminal calendar and a civil calendar. This really helps to allow just one group of people to look at one calendar versus another group at another calendar. We can also do something like an out-of-office calendar or personnel calendar. This I really like, to be able to have people mark the time that they're taking off of the calendar. So for example, if it's a vacation or they're out for a doctor's appointment or whatever, to put it not only on their individual calendar, but also on this personnel calendar, so that when we look at this personnel calendar, we can see at a glance exactly when we're going to be short-staffed or when we have people out. And we can address that as early as possible. But it's a good place to keep all that information organized. And then the last calendar I want to talk about here is a firm calendar. Now, a lot of practice management software comes with a firm calendar, and people will use it differently. Some firms like to have every single appointment on the firm calendar as kind of a fail-safe, so that someone can look and see everything that's going on. That can work, but again, that's bordering on that crazy calendar that we spoke of earlier. So as long as we're also taking those appointments out and sticking them on individual or group calendars, then that can work. But be sure to, make sure that you have that other breakout calendar to help people see things more clearly if you're using the firm calendar that way. The other way some people use a firm calendar is if they're only putting on events that will involve the whole firm. So for example, an all-office meeting, or if the office is closed one day, marking that on the calendar. Those are some really great events that can be included on an all-firm calendar. So the truth is, it really doesn't matter how you break up your calendars, as long as everyone's aware of how it's being used so they can find what they need, and everyone's being consistent. And consistency is really the key. As long as we're all doing it the same way, then we'll all know where to find the information we need when we need it, despite which calendar it's on. So thanks for joining me today. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.